For most of us, we don't want a reptile that's gonna bite you. So today, let's talk about the top 5 reptiles that will never bite you. You guys seem to love Frankie in the last episode, so Frankie the Fiji banded iguana is back.
Asserted.
Not going to make the list though, and I want to make sure that all of you understand. This is a generalization. We're talking in generalities. There's always outliers, and everything with a mouth can bite you. Everything. Cat, dog, pig, bird, wife, kid. Everything with a mouth can and might bite you. But these are the 5 that are really unlikely in their species. So let's start with number 5, the one that is most likely to be an outlier, but probably still won't be. Blue Tongue Skinks. Blue Tongue Skinks are a dream reptile for most keepers. It's an iconic species, a beautiful little potato with short, tiny little legs, and then of course, just beautiful because it has that blue tongue. Then the blue tongue is a threat display to predators. It says, I am big and scary, I'm venomous, they're not, by the way, of course, I'm poisonous, also not poisonous, by the way, but they can be shy. And generally when they're shy in captivity, they're not gonna show the blue tongue and then try to bite you, they're just gonna try to run away from you. I've got 2, Steve and Irwin, and they're amazing pets. I love them both. They're great. I have, an Australian and an Indonesian. The Indo is bigger, although generally the Australians are going to be bigger. Sometimes they'll get up to 30 inches, maybe outliers bigger. Irwin is 32 inches, where Steve is quite a bit shorter. So it just depends on the species that you get. And then the species that you get, you're going to want if you have a more humid environment, get an Indonesian. If you have a drier environment, get yourself an Australian. They have an omnivorous diet, which is great. So you can feed them snails and greens and earthworms and crickets and all sorts of different stuff. I love that about mine. The thing is, they're not going to have human flesh on the menu for the most part. In general, they're really not going to be like that. Now, as babies, sometimes babies are just a little finicky and they want to eat you. When I first got Steve, my Australian blue tongue skink, he was more apt to bite than Irwin ever was, but I got Irwin as an adult. So it just really depends. There are outliers, keep that in mind, but if you love skinks, there's no one more iconic, although we're gonna talk about an even better option in terms of skinks in just a minute. Actually, let's just do it right now. This is 3, 4, ow, your nails are so long. Should I do top 5 reptiles that will scratch holes in your skin? Schneider skinks. Schneider skinks are some of the coolest reptiles that nobody knows about. I think that if you were to get any animal, you wanted say a lizard that is small-ish and that has a cool diet and is easy to care for, there is really nothing better than a Schneider skink. I got these guys almost not quite on a whim. I was actually gearing up to get myself a pink tongue skink, although they're very different, by the way. And I saw Schneider skinks available on a classified ad, and they're really close. And then I noticed that all the people in the ad, or the 2 people that had the ad, were holding them and they were just super chill. So I started up a little bit of an investigation over the next few days, and then I reached out to the people who were selling them. The people who were selling them said, yeah, they're super chill. The species is almost always like this, but ours are exceptionally handleable because we handle them all the time. So I decided to go get them. They like it rather dry, and they have a cool type of scalation. Their scales feel unique and interesting. They jump out of the enclosure because they want to be on me. It's like, I understand that I'm the food bringer and the guy who's warm, but it almost feels like they love you. They're kind of like a golden retriever in that way, and that they always want affection and attention. I love Schneider skinks, and I talk about them way too much on this channel. I just wish I could figure out how to get mine to breed, because I think that there's just not enough going on in the hobby in terms of captive breeding. They're just so goofy, and I can't wait to see more of them become available, and I think that they're going to be a staple in the reptile hobby if you were to fast forward something like 5 years. Everyone's going to know them, everyone's going to want them, and let me tell you, if you have the opportunity and you're ready, it might be the one for you. Real quick before we move on, I want to give you something for free just for watching. All you have to do, subscribe to all the social channels, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, and leave a comment in this video right here. Prize pack with a random 3-digit number, you pick what it is. So prize pack, 3-digit number, subscribe to everything. We're gonna do a draw on August 2nd, and you can win this giant prize pack. There's stuff from my travels and merch and all sorts of different stuff. Or if you want a way better odds of winning, join the Patreon. Right now, I think it's 1 in 360 something chance. So way better odds. And all you have to do is join the $5 a month tier. And if you don't like it, then cancel the next month. it is what it is. As long as you're subscribed on August 2nd, you're part of the draw. Number 3, let's ruin the list with an amphibian, dart frogs. Now, this seems obvious. I mean, dart frogs, sure, they could bite you, but would you, like, they can't even eat crickets, most of them. Most of them can't even eat crickets because crickets are too big for their mouths. Most of them will eat only fruit flies, which are really, really small. And depending on the species of dart frog that you're going to get, some of them are gonna have to eat really tiny fruit flies. And when they're babies, they're gonna eat springtails because even fruit flies are too big. So super tiny, definitely no risk of bite. And even if they did bite you, you probably wouldn't even notice it. But there's so many to choose from, so many species and locales. If you want a red one, if you want a yellow one, if you want a green one, if you want a blue one, there's so many for you to choose from. I've got tons of different species. I've got in that giant enclosure, which we're gonna do, the next video on pretty soon. I've got a bunch of them in there, and they're cohab with red-eye tree frogs because they're not gonna eat each other, and there's gonna be big snakes. I can't wait to show you. It's gonna be so freaking cool. But dart frogs, if you want ones that call really loud, like a trilling call, get yourself something like a Philobaides terribilis. If you want one that makes almost no sound, most tinctorius will make basically no, like a buzzing sound. If you want something that is cheaper than a terribilis, smaller, but is gonna call like crazy, get yourself a new Faga Pumilio, or if you want something even cheaper than that, get yourself something like a Santa Isabella. I had to move mine to the other room because they just call their brains out. I actually got them for the call. I love the call. I love the way they sound. It makes it feel like a jungle, like I'm in Costa Rica all over again every day when I go down to check my reptile room. Overall, they're really not that difficult as long as you can provide a very moist, humid environment. Make sure that your environment is very humid because I promise you, if it dries out, they will die. And it's great if you like plants. These are probably one of the best species to have in a planted enclosure. Number 2, rubber boas. Now, rubber boas are something I talked about on the channel a long time ago. So OG subscribers, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. You guys know about these guys for sure. Rubber boas are one of the only North American boas, the other being the rosy boa. Now, rubber boas are from the northern part, where rosy boas are from the southern part of this continent. So if you were in, say, British Columbia, Canada, and you want to see a boa, you can literally go outside in some places. They're in Oregon too, and places like that. But either way, they like it cooler. There's even a picture of one basking right beside snow. I'm not saying take your rubber boa and put it in the snow. Don't do that. I promise it's not going to end well. But they're so freaking cool. Their mouths are small. They eat small prey. And in fact, a really interesting thing that most people don't know about them is if you get them as babies, they're likely not even going to eat at all for you until you put them down for brumation. Okay, you're going away. You're too crazy. Ow. Everybody say goodbye to Frankie. He needs his nails clipped. Anyway, the chances of them biting are next to nothing. Even if they did, it would maybe draw blood, maybe, but they're so unlikely to. The reason they're called rubber boas, well, there's a few reasons, but something interesting about them is the mother of these boas will oftentimes go into an entire mouse nest, and she'll start eating the baby mice as she fends off the mother mouse with her tail, which has a blunt type of almost head look to it to mimic a head. Plus, they feel rubbery and they have this, sheen to them, and they look rubbery, and they aren't the most beautiful snake in the world. They don't really come in any morphs that I know of, but I think that they're cool. And just the fact that it's a Canadian boa species and I'm a Canadian, I think it's super cool as well. And also they're small. I'm talking 21 to 26 inches, something like that. So you can keep them in, a 20-gallon enclosure if you wanted. Give them a bigger enclosure if you like. They're not gonna move around that much, but they're easy, breezy, love them. They're really cool, and I think that they should be more popular. And number 1, reptile that will not bite you. This one shocked me. Mountain horn dragons. I know, he talks about mountain horn dragons too much. I know, but trust me, go find someone who has them. Play with them for a bit. They're cool. I thought, whatever, boring. Went to my buddy's house. He just opened the enclosure and they went crazy. They just jumped all over him and jumped on me, and they want nothing to do with biting you at all. They will go crazy for crickets and roaches though. It's super fun to put crickets in my reptile enclosure, in my mountain horn dragon enclosure, and watch them go crazy. And there's different sizes to choose from, right? They're kind of like poodles in that way, right? Because there's standard poodles, which are big, and then mini, and then toy poodles, right? These guys, same thing. If you want a big one, the capras are pretty big. That's what you see here. If you want a Lepidogaster, which is the ones I keep, they're dwarf, they're very small, like 8 inches if, they really max out. Which of mine are closer to 4 or 5 inches. They're pretty small. But they're arboreal, they love water, but the water has to be moving. They're great because if you get the smaller ones and you like plants, you can have a planted enclosure and then they don't wreck them. Their diet's easy, throw in some crickets, wham bam Bob's your uncle. They don't need very specialized temperatures and humidity, that's easy. They're found from Southeast Asia, so everything there looks pretty cool. I mean, some of the coyotes there look incredible. I can't say a bad thing about mountain horned dragons, and I bet you can't either. So let me know in the comments section below what reptile you think is least likely to bite, and hit the like and subscribe button while you're down there if you don't mind. As always, a special thanks to the Patreon supporters. You guys get videos early, discounts on merch. You guys get one-on-ones. I love doing those. I'm doing 3 of those tomorrow. Can't wait. All that for as little as $1 a month. That's it. I do videos twice a week, so I'll see you in the next one.